This is Mike Corey. I'm president of Ntirety, a division of hosting, and I just recently came back from Las Vegas at the IUG Collaborate show, and I did a presentation on trends in database administration and how the role of a DBA is changing. And what I find interesting is that it's been the same trends for the last 20 years, though with a few variations right now. So the first trend I always talk about is database proliferation and expansion. And what I basically mean by that is customer-facing applications that use the database are expanding at an enormous rate. In addition to that, all the data we collect is expanding at an enormous rate. The average database grows 3 to 5 times its size every couple of years. We've got this huge expansion of applications that rely on a database. Imagine going out to a website. If you went out to a website, you want to know what size, what color, what's in stock, and you want to know when it's going to arrive and exactly how much it's going to cost. And so we have all this information we're gathering behind the scenes. How long did you spend on the website? What pages did you look at? When you come out to the Ntirety site, any company today is tracking everything we do, and the data volumes behind us are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I also think about the fact that for my home computer, I have a 5 terabyte drive, and if you asked me 20 years ago would I need a 5 terabyte drive for my home computer, I would have told you you're crazy. But even in the home, we're collecting more and more data. And so when I think about what's going on in the database world, you always have to keep it in the context of more and more applications that rely on the database, and these applications are gathering more and more data. And that's been a trend that's been with us for 20 years, and it's kind of what I call one of the staples of understanding what's going on with database administration. The second thing I would state as a trend is management complexity surrounding the database. Since I've been using Oracle starting with version 3, I've never found one tool that does it all. And I don't care if you're using a SQL Server database, I don't care if you're using an Oracle database, there just isn't one single tool that helps you manage the database. Database complexity is at an all-time high. My God, we're looking at in-memory databases right now. We've got database replication, we've got high availability solutions, we've got databases being virtualized. Database complexity is at an all-time high, and that's another stable that hasn't changed. And the reason database complexity is at an all-time high is because, frankly, businesses need more and more from us. They need us to be available 7 by 24. They need that data to always be available. I use the example of a ski resort. You're a ski resort. You own 3 slopes on a mountain range. You want to be able to offer a lift ticket that the competitor can't offer who doesn't own 3 slopes. In order to do that, you need some sort of database replication. So every business today has some sort of complexity behind their database that didn't exist 20 years ago. That's a necessary evil to stay competitive. And so the second, what I'd call foundational purpose is what I call management complexity surrounding the database is an all-time high. And then there's the people challenge. When I think back when I first started using an Oracle database, there were 3 books for everything. And now I could fill that wall wherever you are to understand an Oracle database, and behind me I could fill a second wall of books from authors like me to understand the first set of databases. And then I think to myself, what is a DBA? Well, it depends what kind of DBA you are. I call it the DBA silos. Are you a production DBA? Are you a development DBA? Are you an OS DBA? Are you a virtualization DBA? Are you an application DBA? Are you the DBA du jour? And so we've got this human capital challenge that keeps getting harder and harder. And then on top of that, good DBA skills take years to acquire. And so we've got these 3 what I call fundamental principles of understanding complexity surrounding a database. And so you've got those 3 what I call classic pillars. Well, now we've got some new challenges in front of us. We've got what I call the hyperconverged architectures. Products like Nutanix, SimpliVity, VBlock, Oracle Exadata. We've got these converged infrastructures to help manage all this data that are even making things more complex, right? We've got database as a service. And for the DBAs and people out there that think database as a service isn't going to happen, it absolutely is going to happen. The fact that we have all these applications exploding on Amazon Cloud and Microsoft Azure says that the businesses need access to databases, and if you internally can't provide them, then they're going to go around you. Just as water seeks the path of least resistance, the business is going to get what it needs as quickly as it needs. And database as a service isn't as simply as just putting a database out on a cloud. It's it's the whole concept of self-service. I want it now. Paying for what you need, some sort of chargeback mechanism, right? But it really is about giving the business what it needs when it needs it as quickly as possible. And so you've got this, what I call database as a service, as one of these new pillars that's coming at us fast and furious. And then you've got what I call the modern data management techniques, right? You've got Greenplum, you've got MongoDB, you've got Cassandra. So we've got, all of a sudden, some people call it big data. We've got this data explosion, or what I like to call the dataverse, surrounding us. And then you've got what I call the unstructured data, all built around Hadoop, Cloudera, Hortonworks. And so your business, we know today, needs data. And in the old days, it sat in a relational database and you gave the business everything it needs. Well, today, that's simply not enough. And so businesses have to embrace, how do I manage data with all these challenges? We've got the human capital challenge. We've got the database complexity challenge, right? We've got the fact that more and more applications are relying on this data. Now, on top of that, we've got the unstructured data challenge. And so today, I would challenge companies to say, you have to come up with a strategy to deal with all this data. Whether it's within your database or it's outside your database, you have to come up with ways to manage this dataverse. And the good news is there's lots of solutions out there. Ntirety was built around helping people deal with these issues. And so you have options, and you need to decide what the right options for you are. I will also warn you that if you don't embrace things like database as a service, hyperconverged architectures, unstructured data somehow being married to your relational databases, then you're going to go the way of the slide rule, the buggy, I mean, you name it. Here's the bottom line. If you don't embrace it, you will become a dinosaur. You will become obsolete, because the business needs these things, and it's the expectation that DBAs and technologists help provide these business with these things.